In today's episode, I will be sharing with you some underrated travel destinations in 2025 and hopefully for years to come. Welcome to the Wanderlust Moment podcast, hosted by Noah
and Vanessa.
We're a married couple who loves traveling the world and sharing all those experiences with you,
whether it's good or bad.
So now let's jump right into today's episode. So when I think about places I want to visit or trying to categorize different locations, the labels that come to mind typically are places that are over touristed. They're overhyped online. You don't want to go there maybe because everyone's going there. It's the hot thing on the market or whatever. And some places, the tourism can actually make these places downright unenjoyable, And then you have the hidden gems, the places that people are like, oh, come visit this place before it blows up. This is my little secret spot, and people love this because, who doesn't want to visit a place and have it all to yourself before it gets too popular, But then there are classic places that are really good, places that people visit. They're just not quite as popular or not quite as visited as the over touristed places. So again, these are places people know. They're not hidden gems of any sort, but I think they're kind of underrated because, in my opinion, they can compare or be even better than some of the best places to visit in that country or region. And the fact that they're not as over touristed or it's not on as many people's radar to visit immediately makes it a little bit easier to enjoy because you don't have to worry about the crowds or the extremely high demand of these things. So that's where this list is coming from by underrated. I don't mean places that everyone thinks are terrible, but they're actually amazing. I just think they could probably use a little bit more attention, and the underratedness actually works in its benefit. So let's talk about the first place I have written down on my trusty list, Busan. Now, of course, the premier destination to visit in South Korea is going to be Seoul. Because Seoul is the capital, it's the major city, it's the cultural hub of modern culture and I think historic, traditional Korean culture. I visited both of these places. And Busan is the second biggest city, but it doesn't quite have the same modern pull that Seoul does, that you can jump into in neighborhoods like Hongdae or Gangnam, Oppan Gangnam Style. That song, I'm sure that brought a lot of tourists to South Korea over the years. So Seoul, it's the second city. And also there's another part of South Korea called Jeju, which is kind of like South Korea's version of Hawaii, or it's tropical island escape. So if South Koreans want to travel and they want to do a tropical beach escape, they'll probably go to Jeju over Busan. So that kind of puts Busan in this little middle spot where it doesn't maybe get as many international tourists, and it maybe doesn't get as many domestic tourists that might go to these other places. So that makes Busan really cool, because what makes Busan incredible is, number one, it's still a massive city. Seoul is bigger, but Busan, it still has lots of different neighborhoods for you to visit. Some that are filled with great shopping, whether we're talking Korean cosmetics, whether we're talking Korean fashion, whether we're talking about great markets, underground shopping as well, big department stores. It has a lot of the similarities that Seoul has, honestly. Just a little bit down. If Seoul's 100%, I'd say Busan's maybe 75, 80 when it comes to that sort of thing. And to get around the city, it still takes a long time. It's a big city. If you're going from some tourist attractions to other places, it might take you over an hour, an hour to an hour and a half, taking trains and buses. So that's why it's important when you visit Busan. I'll make more of a guide to Busan in the future, and maybe South Korea in general. Picking your location is really important depending on what you want to see and do. And of course, it's a coastal city, so you have access to beautiful beaches. Now, these aren't going to be beaches where it's a little chunk of sand with green lush vegetation surrounding you, where the jungle's behind you. No, these are city beaches, but maybe compare it a little bit to Waikiki Beach in Hawaii or Miami Beach. Maybe it's not quite as warm water or as tropical waters, but they're really nice city beaches. The sand is nice, the water is beautiful. You have great urban sites around you, beautiful bridges. You can see the city lights light up around you. You can hang out here for sunset, or maybe during a warmer month you can swim. I visited Busan more in the spring months, kind of mid-early March. So I was pretty chilly. I really needed a coat, walking around, a light jacket, so definitely didn't want to swim, but it's still really nice to walk around the sand and see the ocean. And I just love coastal cities as well. So you have that huge advantage. Go to beaches like Gwangali Beach, probably my favorite, or Hyundai Beach. And then, of course, because it's a city beach, along the beach, we'll have lots of access to like cafes or restaurants or shopping. So you can like make a day out of hanging out in these little beach neighborhoods, or get like dinner or coffee with a great view of the beach in the city. So that's a really cool thing that you can have access to while being in a really massive city as well. And in addition to having beach access, you have some really nice coastal walking trails along the beach, or these little like skywalks or little nature areas that are, you can actually escape from the urban areas and like walk along the coast and like the cliffs of Busan and see the waves, see little islands in the distance, some rocks. You can even visit these little islands that are connected sometimes by like cable car or like a train or something like that. So there's lots of like coastal adventure opportunities available to you as well, which I thought was super cool. And there's also a beautiful coastal temple, which I wrote down the name because I don't want to mess up the Korean pronunciation, which I'm sure I will anyway. But the name is Haedong Yeongunsa Temple. And this is one of my favorite temples I've seen in Asia. Definitely my favorite in South Korea. It's located on the coast. It's beautiful. Korean Buddhist temples have like beautiful greenish blue colors or like kind of salmon colors, which it just, the contrast is so nice, and it's by the coast and there's lots for you to see and do. And it's just a beautiful cultural aspect of like the temples in Busan that you can combine with the urban aspect and the beach aspect and the coastal walking aspect. And another really cool kind of coastal, kind of cultural thing that you can do is there's cultural villages in Busan, and Seoul doesn't have these. Comparing why, you know, Busan's like underrated and so cool. Seoul has lots of historic districts and areas, like these Hanok villages, which are traditional kind of like Korean architecture, which they're beautiful and really fun culturally. But these cultural villages in Seoul, or Busan, sorry, they're more colorful and like trendy and bright. People call one called the Gamcheon Cultural Village. This is the iconic one in Busan. They call it like the Santorini of Asia, which take that what you will, but it's lots of these really colorful small buildings, kind of like packed on top of each other with little alleys passing between the two, going up a hill. So the view is really incredible. You can see the water in the distance. There are lots of like little cafes or restaurants or businesses. In South Korea, it does such a good job of making things like aesthetically pleasing and with cool little knick-knack shops and cafes and places to eat. It just like does a really good job of like that, I hate to say it, like the Instagram kind of culture, but also being like really cutesy and fun and interactive for tourists as well. So you have this cultural village, which is popular. You want to get there early to really enjoy it. But then you also have the Hwinyeol cultural village, which is another one. This one to me gave me more like Greek vibes because the buildings are more white as well. So you have all those cool, fun things you can do, which you don't have access to any of this stuff in Seoul. And in Busan, you still have the shopping, the popular culture. You can still go out for noraebang or karaoke, you know, and still good like nightlife culture in Samyeon. So you can meet lots of people. People like to go out and have fun. It's a fun atmosphere. So you get that cool city aspect as well. The food is also really good. I like Korean food quite a bit. It's not my favorite Asian food, but my favorite thing from Korea, I think, probably is hotteok. It's like a fried piece of dough that's filled with like brown sugar, and it's crispy on the outside and it's nice, and the brown sugar like melts on the inside, so it's almost like a really sweet honey. It's my favorite thing ever. And they have their own regional variety in Busan called Seat Hotteok, which has, I think that's how you say it, it has seeds and nuts inside, so it's really fun to try regional food. So again, you have good access to nature in Seoul, but I think the coastal aspect, you know, the coastal temple, the cultural villages. You also have like tourist things you can do, like observatories, you know, theme parks. There's like little cable cars you could take around to the islands, or these little capsule like trains that go slowly along the coast that are super romantic, you know. You also have markets, and it has everything. It has great variety of attractions, and the natural scenery is really cool as well. So Busan, you are amazing. I want to go back. I spent 8 days there. If I could go again, it would be more later in the year so I could hop in the water and maybe take more advantage of the outdoors. But visit in the shoulder season if you want it to be even more chill, although there'll still be Korean people out there doing their thing. So that's location number 1, Busan. Now let's talk about a place in Europe. We're moving continents here. This is Ischia. Now, Ischia is an island that will always have a very special place in my heart because it's one of the first like islands I visited during my international travels. And Ischia It's definitely similar to Busan. It's just a little bit overlooked compared to its neighbor Capri, or Capri. Okay, so Capri is the island. These are two islands off the coast of Napoli or Naples, and they're both really beautiful. But Capri, it's more famous. It's more visited by like celebrities or rich people. It's more of like a I don't know, like a gaudy kind of super luxurious vacation people look at or escape. So that's one place that's really popular. Then you also have like Sorrento nearby, which is a beautiful, right before you get to the Amalfi Coast, which these are all places in South Italy with famous nature, beautiful sights. People go there for beach relaxation. And Ischia is just kind of a little bit below them. But I think Ischia is incredible and it offers a lot of amazing things that these islands and the Amalfi Coast and Sorrento really don't. Because Ischia, it has some incredible natural beauty. It has a mountain on the top of it called Mount Epomeo, which you can actually hike and then get amazing panoramic views of the sea around you. You can see the other islands in the distance. You can see the Amalfi Coast connected to the mainland, the main boot of Italy. You can see beaches around you, and that's really incredible. And Ischia, it's a little bit of a bigger island. You can take a bus around it, which is pretty convenient. It's not the most convenient method of transportation. You might want to take a car if you want complete flexibility for times or locations. But across the island, there's different towns that have completely different vibes. You come into the port, and it has like a port town vibe. When you go a little bit more west along the island, you'll reach this, or is it east? I think you start north, so it'd be east. Okay, I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to picture the map in my head. I think it's east. You have one of the most incredible castles I've ever seen. It's the Castello Aragonese, which is connected to the island of Ischia on this narrow little strait that you can walk across through the water. And then this mountain, or it's the castle is located on this small mountain or really big hill. So it's just this behemoth that's just connected to the island of Ischia, and it's very medieval looking. It's magnificent, incredible. And then as you go more around the island, you have some kind of like farm towns. You have some like kind of mountain towns at the base of Mount Epomeo, or you have some really beautiful kind of gives you kind of Amalfi Coast vibes in towns like Forio, which are on the other side of the island, which have more pastel kind of colors that are really beautiful and charming, and these beautiful little plazas where you can get some gelato or some, cappuccino, some espresso. And then you have a beautiful church as well. I wrote it down. It's called where is it? Santa Maria del Soccorso is another coastal church that is overlooking the water. It gives me Greek church vibes because it's beautiful and white. I think you can see beautiful Mount Epomeo in the distance as well. You also have beautiful beaches for you to enjoy. They're not going to be quite as beautiful as maybe some Greek beaches because they can be quite stony, like lots of stones and pebbles, such as San Montano Beach or Spaggia di Sitara. They're really beautiful. The water is going to be nice. And actually, there's thermal water that you can take advantage of on Ischia because Mount Epomeo, I think it was like, it's some semi-active volcano. I don't know if that's even a thing. It doesn't really erupt, but there's still some like thermal activity underneath. So you have hot springs on the island of Ischia, which is super cool if you visit maybe on the off season. If you don't want to like hop in the ocean to cool down, you can warm up going to a hot spring resort. Or there's actually a bay, the Bahia de Sorghetto, where the water is naturally heated by the thermal activity, so you can swim in like a hot ocean where you can even like cook food in the sand. If you put like I'm vegan, so I don't eat eggs, but I've seen you can put eggs into the sand and it will cook from the thermal activity from the sand. So that's really cool. You have hot springs, you have beaches, you have hiking, you have completely different towns to check out. You have a beautiful medieval castle, all on one island. Churches. You can get like the whole European island aesthetic. You can get some history with some natural beauty and some adventure. So that's everything I love in a place to visit, especially in Europe. So Ischia, I hope it doesn't become super popular, but go before it does. It's not a hidden gem, but you won't have to fight for the crowds as much as some other places in Italy. Definitely. Okay, so now let's move continents again to my home country, good old America. Now, the USA. And there's a lot of places that people visit in the USA. Has a lot of domestic tourism too, obviously. And you could argue this place is almost a hidden gem. Not quite, but internationally, I'm sure it's visited a lot less than other places. Am I driving you crazy? All right, I'll tell you. The place is Santa Fe, New Mexico. So I visited Santa Fe back in 2019. So quite a few years ago, back when I lived in Colorado, because from Colorado it's about like or Denver, I should say, it's about like a 6-hour drive. And yeah, Santa Fe, it's not quite visited as much as other places in the country, but it's one of the most unique and incredible places I've ever visited in the USA, because it almost feels like you're visiting a different country. Because what's really cool about Santa Fe is the cultural diversity or cultural influence of the area, because it still has a strong feeling of like Native American culture or Hispanic culture too. Because one of the geography, it's in New Mexico, so it's closer to the border of Mexico in a way. Obviously, it's not on the border, but there's going to be more Hispanic population the closer you get a lot of the time. And of course, like the presence of Native Americans. So anyway, you can still buy lots of goods produced by people from that heritage. The buildings themselves, a lot of them are built out of adobe. So this is kind of like a clay material. It's kind of like a burnt orange / like reddish brown. And the buildings, the style of them too, are just very distinct. They're like these like geometric slabs put together, which are really beautiful. Like they look like each of them could be like a museum, but some of them could just be restaurants. Some of them could be little shops or things like this. So just the feel is really incredible, and the culture, you really can't get that kind of thing unless you leave the country most of the time. So you can get that just in Santa Fe. And it's very walkable in the main tourist area. There's a nice plaza. There's lots of museums you can visit. There's really beautiful old churches. Some of the most incredible ones I've seen in my country. You know, I've been to churches in like Mexico or Latin American countries, or of course Europe. And there are some gorgeous cathedrals or historic churches. Some of the oldest churches in the entire country are in Santa Fe. So that's a really cool tourist attraction for you to check out as well. It's also famous for its art, and there's a street, I wrote it down, which is called Canyon Road, and here there's a bunch of like art on display along the street. So if you're cheapo and you don't want to pay to enter a museum to see art, go down Canyon Road, see art across or all over the street, and you can even walk into these little galleries to see art for free, so you can get that kind of experience that Santa Fe is famous for as well. And it's also famous for interactive art museum called Meow Wolf. The first one was from Santa Fe, and it's kind of like this psychedelic, very abstract, lots of different colors and shapes and like weird interactions you can have and like walk through or climb through doors. You can like actually open a refrigerator, and it's like an entryway to like a completely different area where you go down like this little slide. So it's really fun, kind of crazy and wacky. It's good for kids, it's good for young adults, or maybe your middle to upper age adults too. It's good for everybody, and it's a really cool and fun and unique thing to do. And besides that, of course, obviously you can imagine the food is going to be influenced from different people that influence the culture of that area as well. But you also have hot springs that you can visit actually in the town, like a hot spring resort, which is influenced by like Japanese onsen style. And you have hikes around you if you want to get a little bit away from like the downtown of the city, because Santa Fe, I think it's the highest capital city in America. Most people think it's Denver, but Santa Fe, it's like 6,000 feet above sea level. So be aware for altitude sickness, you know. But so there's lots of mountains for you to go to and hike and take advantage of, especially if you have a car. And there's even some hot springs you can like visit at the end of some hikes out in nature. So again, what does it have? Culture, art, adventure, history, food, and so much more. And just really interesting atmosphere. And it's definitely a lot less visited than some really busy touristy places in the USA. So Santa Fe, check it out, everybody, if you're interested. Whether you're American or not, I think you'll really enjoy it, to be honest. Now let's kind of go back to Greece, and let's talk about the Greek islands. So the Greek islands, it's kind of like a quintessential trip for a lot of people, especially Europeans, because they're beautiful. You can go there to party. You can go there as like a romantic trip as well. They're just beautiful and iconic. And the ones that are typically visited, you know, we're talking about Santorini, obviously. It's super famous. And then you have Mykonos, which I think is like the second most visited. But one that's underrated, or a couple that are underrated, I should say, I combined two in there together, is Naxos and Milos. Now, I think Milos is starting to become more popular, so you might have to have a lot of crowds if you go there during peak tourist months. It's not going to be anything like Santorini, I promise you that. One, because Santorini, I has an airport, so it can be easier to visit that way. But also, it's just like so much more of like a photographed, posted spot. But both of these places, Naxos and Milos, have beautiful beaches, gorgeous beaches, way more beautiful than Santorini. Santorini, because it's more volcanic, I think the water isn't as blue. And it actually has like red sand or very pebbly volcanic sand. But these ones have beautiful beaches with nice soft sand and beautiful blue water as well. And Naxos is the biggest island out of the Cyclades, or the Cyclades. I'll say both pronunciations to cover my bases. It's the biggest island of the Cyclades. So what you can actually do is you can stay in the main town. You know, you can go to the Kora, which is like the capital, which is beautiful. It has those, white, picturesque, tiny little alleys with the buildings around you, and you can see the sunset. It's just a super romantic, magical feel that you can get in the main area. But you can easily rent a car and explore all the way around to the rest of the island, driving through mountains, visiting this cute mountain town. I think the name is Chalky, and it still has some I can't think of the word, but some like ruins and old historical sites for you to see as well. Some of them could be like old temples or churches. Great views. Or you can just hang out and have dinner and enjoy a romantic sunset at the Temple of Apollo, which is still an archaeological, I remember the word, site with some cool relations to Greek mythology, or Greek religion, I should say, which I've been really interested in since I was a young boy. I loved reading the Percy Jackson and the Olympian book series, where I was introduced to all the Greek gods and the stories. So seeing these places associated with these mythological characters or gods, it's just really cool and has a cool personal touch with me. And you can get these at all the islands in Greece, obviously. Like, these are just ones in the Cyclades. There are ones that are even more hidden gems, I'm sure. These are just ones where there'll be crowds, but it's going to be a lot less like suffocating than islands like Santorini or Mykonos, but equally as beautiful, if not more as beautiful, and with more to offer. So that's Naxos. I should tell you a little bit about Milos too, because I included it there. What Milos has is, it has a beach called Furiaplaka Beach, which is gorgeous. It's at the bottom of this little hill, and there's these massive cliffs above you. These kind of like white cliffs, and the water is beautiful, blue. The sand is super soft. I actually got in a motorbike accident going to this beach and split my knee open. I had to get stitches. I was going to say surgery. That seems a little intense. I had to get stitches to get it closed, and that kind of ruined the rest of my trip to a certain extent, because I couldn't swim or really drink any alcohol because I was on antibiotics. Everything's well that ends well, but I guess I'll appreciate how beautiful this beach is. It also has a famous beach called Sara Caniko. This is going to be the place where there will be the most tourists, because it's blown up online. The scenery here looks like the moon. The water is very beautiful. It's great for pictures. You can cliff jump and do some swimming as well. So it's really fun, really cool place. And similar to all the other Greek islands, Naxos and Milos, they have these beautiful churches, or like Kora, or Plaka, which are these little towns, the capitals, where they're kind of built on these little hills that go up and have cascading white buildings. It's just so beautiful with the sun setting too. So anyway, that's kind of the vibe I'm sure people want when they visit Santorini or Mykonos, but you can get it at these islands with way less people. You can have more adventure and more options and more beauty. I'm honestly just like scratching the surface of those places. So check those out if you're interested. Back to Asia. This is a place in the country of Vietnam called Da Nang, or Da Nang. Da Nang. Okay, I'll say Da Nang. And when people visit Vietnam, the two places that come to my mind, well, I guess there's three. One is going to be Ho Chi Minh City. This was previously called Saigon, and this is like the biggest city in the south part of Vietnam, because if you're familiar with the history a little bit, there was a civil war called the Vietnam War, duh. If you're American, you know. And this was between the South and the North. America, or the USA, and some other Western countries were supporting the South. And then the North was communist and supported by communist countries. We pulled out. Obviously, the countries like more or less on the same page today. There might be some small differences. I don't mean to get too deep into the politics. But anyway, Ho Chi Minh City is like the main capital of that part, or the main city of that part of Vietnam. And then in the north, you have Hanoi, which I visited. And it's really cool. It's definitely not like a tropical getaway, but it's a super hectic, lively, energetic city with lots of scooters like cruising around you, lots of noises, lots of stimulations, lots of history, really interesting architecture, great cafes, great history to see as well. It's just a really fun, unique place to visit for that reason. And then, of course, you have Halong Bay, which this is like the main beautiful getaway. It's this bay with lots of these beautiful like limestone cliffs that people do like a couple day cruise where you get treated like luxuriously for a way cheaper price than you would in a lot of places in the Western world, of course. You get like food, you get to like just hang out in like a beautiful natural area. You can swim in the bay, take out boats, and this is like a really popular thing for Vietnamese people and foreign tourists to do as well. So those are kind of the big three to me. But of course, Da Nang, it's not a place that's like off the beaten path. People visit it. It's just I didn't have the experience where it was flooded with tourists, and I don't know if other people do necessarily. It's kind of similar to Busan in the way that, Da Nang, it's a coastal city, so it has access to the beach, but it's way less built up than Busan. It's way smaller. The beach is really nice and beautiful. The weather in Da Nang, at least when I was there, it was great, and I don't think it gets like blistering hot either. So the beach access is really nice. Good for swimming, good for if you want to try surfing or bodyboarding. It's really good beach hangouts, honestly, really good. So if you can't tell, I love a good coastal city. I love coastal areas. I love trips with water. And I'm sure a lot of people do too. So Da Nang, it has that. It also has some cool, like interesting cultural sites in the city. You have you have the Dragon's Bridge, which is cool. It has a fire show at the end of the night where the dragon like shoots out fire from its mouth on the bridge, and that's kind of a cool sight. Maybe it's a little bit gimmicky after you've seen it once, but I think it's fun to check out. And then you have a really popular touristed site that's much smaller, just about an hour or so away, called Hoi An. Don't confuse it with Hanoi. Hoi An, Hanoi. It's Hoi An, and this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site because it's absolutely beautiful. The architecture in Hoi An. It's a little small town that was, like a lot of Vietnam, occupied by the French. And you can really see the influence of like French architecture mixed with, the Vietnamese style and Japanese style too, because it was also occupied by Japan. Poor Vietnam. I'm really sorry for your history. I'm sure it's been complicated, So anyway, don't want to get too much into that, but what it does produce is a really interesting visual area. It also has a river that goes through. There's some rice fields around you. There's beautiful. It's just a great place to walk around the streets and just take in the atmosphere and sights. But at night, it gets super busy. The streets are not built for all the tourists that come. But anyway, this is a day trip you can visit from Da Nang. A cool cultural one. The food's really nice as well. Obviously, Vietnamese food, a lot of people love it. With like I love banh mi. The French baguette that's filled with like all the Asian flavors, like chili sauce, and like in my case, it might be like soy meat or tofu and cilantro. It's so delicious. So Da Nang has that. It also has the Marble Mountains, which are cool little mountains just south of the city. It also has Ba Na Hills, which this is one of the most popular tourist locations, I think, in Vietnam, because of course of social media. Social media does this to everywhere. It's this theme park, and what makes it really famous is there's like this area you can walk on, which has kind of like an arc-shaped walking bridge with these hands sticking out. Maybe you can picture what I'm talking about now. I didn't actually go to Ba Na Hills. It's also an amusement park, so you can go to like some kind of like themed areas or ride some roller coasters and things like that. So if you want that on your travels, check it out. I wasn't as interested. I wanted more adventure. So where I visited that I think makes Da Nang, like it's like the icing on the cake, is the Son Tra Peninsula. This is a natural area that's just north of the main beach. You can ride like a scooter like 15 or so minutes, 15, 20 minutes, I would say, to the Son Tra Peninsula, just from like the heart of Da Nang, which Da Nang, it's also walkable, but if you have a scooter, it makes it really easy to get around to like the beach and different cafes and restaurants or day trips that we talked about earlier. But the Son Tra Peninsula, it's beautiful. You have like more beaches that are tucked away. You can have all to yourself. You could see lots of monkeys like hanging from the trees. You can see lots of wildlife. There's a really beautiful temple structure as well, with this massive statue that you can see actually from Da Nang itself. So to me, the Son Tra Peninsula, it's a really fun area to explore and adventure. There's some walking areas, some viewpoints. Actually, right now, I believe a lot of it is off limits because they're doing some construction or something. So unless you're local, or maybe you have like access to like 4-wheel drive, you can't explore the true heart of the Son Tra Peninsula, which kills me because I was having the time of my life exploring this part of Da Nang and I was loving it, but we ran out of time. Well, we didn't run out of time. We tried to go to more of the peninsula, but they had like a gate and they wouldn't let us in. So I hope they get it together because I want to explore the rest of it so much. There's so many more viewpoints or cool little areas or villages and adventure just awaiting you there. I love adventure, guys. So Da Nang, it's really cool. All the stuff it offers, the day trips, the beach. It's a place I think I could spend a lot more time than I did. And I spent, I think, almost 2 weeks there anyway, or maybe a week. So Da Nang, underrated, could be really popular. I'm sure it will be one day. To me, honestly, right now, it's like the number one up and coming digital nomad spot. You know, the place where people want to work remotely because it has good quality of life and it's really affordable. It is really affordable, and I'm sure that will change soon if we're not careful. But it's fun for visiting, regardless. Okay, so next, we're staying in Asia. You know, not jumping around as much on this one. Let's talk about Taipei. Now, East Asia, I guess, has so many popular places. You know, of course, we talked about Seoul. Of course, I think Japan is like the number one spot. It's always, I love Japan too, so I totally get it. But we think about the mega cities in Asia. I would say Tokyo is probably one of the most visited. You have other places in Japan like Osaka. It's another mega city-ish. Hong Kong is a mega city, which I freaking love Hong Kong, but I'm sure it gets lots of tourists from China and the rest of the world. Seoul, it gets a lot of tourists because of the cultural influence as well. A lot of Chinese cities now are starting to like heat up because of like international interest. I think things like TikTok has really changed people's perceptions and gave a lot of intrigue to visiting China. So places like Shanghai are, you know, heating up even more. Chongqing, mega cities. But Taiwan, there's a lot of like political implications for it. There's people could be potentially scared. You could like kind of draw some comparisons maybe to like Ukraine and Russia. So people are afraid, like, you know, maybe something could happen there. I know we were when we visited. I have some people on the inside though, so I talked to them and try to pick their brains and see if it was a good time to go. Luckily it worked out great. But Taipei, it's a mega city. You know, it's not as big as Tokyo, but there's a lot to see and do. There's many different neighborhoods. It's very urban. The skyscrapers are beautiful. Taipei 101, I think, is like the most beautiful skyscraper I've ever seen. And I've seen like the Skytree. I've seen the Lotte Tower. I've seen stuff in Singapore. You know, Singapore is another Asian mega city too. Slash like city state, you know, or state country, whatever. I'm getting off track. So it still has that metropolis, you know, Taipei, and it still has great public transportation, which that's one of the reasons I love Asian cities, is getting around can just be like really affordable and really convenient. That's certainly the case for Taipei. The subway is really good to get around to different areas. And then you have like lots of different kind of, I would say funky, but neighborhoods with different character or like vibes, you know? So Ximending is the neighborhood I stayed in. It's similar to me to like neighborhoods like Shinjuku or Shibuya in Tokyo, where they're very like full of bright lights, very energetic, lots of shopping, trendy and cool. And what I really like about Taipei and Taiwan is it reminds me of Japan a lot because they kind of embrace the kawaii kind of culture, the cutesy kind of like fun. Everything has like a little mascot and like lots of anime figures and stuff on the subways or as you walk around. So it has that kind of fun, cool, playful, like Asian feel that I like. And there's lots of good shopping still. There's great night markets in Taipei. Oh my gosh, I love the night markets so much. They're full of sights and they can get really busy and smells. Beware of the stinky tofu, everybody. It might be the worst thing you've ever smelled that is edible. I think it's actually pretty good. A lot of people don't. And then you also have good hikes as well. There's, because in my mind, Taiwan and Taipei, it's kind of like the country that bridges the gap between Southeast Asia and East Asia. It's kind of got a bit of both as far as like the organization and the heat and like the energy and the cultural feel. So the flora, it's really green and lush. And just around the city, you can do some really cool hikes to get good views of the city, to catch sunsets. And it's going to be like green and jungly around you, which I really enjoy that. And it has great day trips such as Jufun, which is kind of like the Spirited Away town with all the red lanterns. And that's really popular as well. But Taipei is a city. It's just not nearly as visited as some of the other Asian cities. And it can offer you a lot of the same things you might be interested in culturally Convenience wise, it still has really great parks as well. It has a hot spring district that you can visit, which is like modeled after the Japanese occupation. It kind of left its influence in this part of Taipei. So you can like stay at a hot spring hotel, which is really freaking cool. So I love Taipei. I think it's really cool. Is it my favorite Asian city of all time? Maybe not, but I think it's amazing. I just love Tokyo, guys. I love Tokyo so much. But it's a really cool, underrated place. Not a hidden gem, but definitely underrated compared to the others. Okay, and let's move to Latin America, because I don't know if I've talked about Latin America yet. No, I moved to the USA. But in Latin America, if I think about like the main attractions, or sorry, the most visited places, what comes to my mind at least is going to be, of course, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, because it's a really big city, really beautiful. Maybe some people don't visit because of concerns for safety. Also, I would think of places in Mexico, which that's Latin America, you know, so maybe like Cancun, Tulum, Mexico City, Cabo de San Lucas, and Mexico City as well. I'd say like it's a big city, but it definitely gets a lot of attraction from the international community now, especially the remote working one. Maybe some places in like Colombia, like Medellin, are getting really popular for the same kind of reasons for as Mexico City, because of the time zone and maybe the cost of living or networking options or weather, you know, that make people want to spend some time there. But I think a really cool area that, or maybe Buenos Aires in Argentina fits that same kind of categorization as Mexico City and Medellin in Colombia. But a major city in Latin America that definitely gets attraction, but not as much maybe, is Lima. Because I think Lima, similar to a lot of places in Latin America, has a reputation of being dangerous, and maybe there are some areas where that is the case. Driving through from like the airport to the area we were staying in at night, I could definitely see some areas that felt rough around the edges, or maybe you wouldn't want to walk around at night if you don't know the area too well. So I totally get that. But number one, you can probably guess why I love Lima. It's a coastal city. Ding, ding, ding. You know, it's already going to be on my list if it's coastal. But it has a really nice view of the water, and it's not going to be tropical water. It's going to be a little like bluish, brownish gray maybe, because it's the Pacific Ocean and it's cold. So like the cold front coming in from the ocean, and Lima being kind of like close-ish to the equator, you know, we have a cold front and a hot front meeting, so that can make a lot of mist in the city. So sunny days are kind of hard to come by. Luckily, I had a few when I was there. So, but along the coast, you have views of the cliffs of the ocean, some parks, some beaches. You can see people surfing. You can see little isletas or islands off in the distance. But it has a really cool walking area called the Malecon, which I think literally means like, I don't know, like walking path. I'm not exactly sure. I know some Spanish, but I'm drawing a blank on this one. But it's a really green area that goes along from one neighborhood called Barranco, which is probably my favorite neighborhood in Lima. And it goes along the coast. There's lots of little parks that go through the walking area. Great views of the coast. And then you even pass this really cool shopping mall called the Larcomar. My Spanish tongue is fighting my English tongue now. And this is a super modern, like small shopping mall. It's not big, but it has like escalators going like down the cliff to this shopping mall that's like sticking off the cliff, looking off into the ocean. So it's incredibly beautiful. And a lot of people don't think of like cities in Latin America being like as modern and well built up, but you'll see this, and it's as modern as it gets. It's really cool architecturally and just built into the natural landscape. It's freaking amazing. So yeah, you have this walking path. It's about 6 miles long, and it even has like a little Chinese park, because there's a really big like Chinese influence. A lot of Chinese people came over to Peru and they stay in Lima. So that's kind of cool culturally as well, to mix in with the Hispanic vibes. And the parks are beautiful as well. There's lots of sculptures for you to see. Latin American countries just, I feel like, can be so expressive with the culture, with the music, with the dancing, with the food. We'll get into that. So Barranco, the neighborhood that the walking area, the Malecon, starts from, I should say, it has this really cool bohemian vibe where there's lots of like murals, not in like a trashy graffiti kind of way, which that can be cool in its own way sometimes, but it's really beautiful. It's really artistic. You have these cool little neighborhoods and restaurants to walk around that are safe. They're very expressive. it's just so much fun. And then Miraflores is the area I stayed in, which it's full of flowers, because Miraflores I think means like look at the flowers, literally. And in this area, you actually have a pre-Incan ruin, actually like pyramid that you can visit, which that's super cool, because when I was talking about like the top premier destinations to visit in South America, how could I forget Machu Picchu, which of course is in Peru, and a lot of people fly into Lima to eventually get to Cusco, then to get to Machu Picchu. But maybe a lot of people don't think about spending a lot of time in Lima, and I don't think you need to spend like a week, but 3 or 4 days, and I think you'll really enjoy your time there. But anyway, the pyramid I'm referring to as Huaca Pucllana, and it's pretty inexpensive to visit and a really cool cultural site as well. And while we're speaking about cultural sites, Lima has, I think, probably my favorite museum I've ever visited, the Larco Museum, which it has lots of stuff from Incan civilization, lots of artifacts. It teaches you about the Incan beliefs, which these are like embedded in a lot of the people that still live there today, that hold on to their like traditional roots, and has artifacts from civilizations before the Incas, I should say. And it actually has an erotic exhibit, which is definitely explicit, but they had really interesting beliefs about sex and reproduction. Sorry, I said the S word. I should say, you get what I'm saying anyway. And don't bring your kids into here, but if you're an adult, and I travel because I want to see different stuff, I want to see things that could be a little bit jarring or interesting. In other cultures, they might have like different views or understandings of these things, and to them it might not be as jarring because of the greater, deeper meaning behind it for them, versus us just saying, wow, I can't believe where his pelvis is in relation to their head. I'll leave it at that. So check it out if you're interested. It's super cool. And the courtyard of the museum's really beautiful as well. There's lots of flowers, and the buildings are beautiful as well. So that's Lima. Before I move on to the next one, I really needed to talk about the food scene in Lima, because Lima is one of the best food cities in the entire world. It has lots of Michelin star restaurants at a much more affordable price than some others. And Peruvian cuisine in general is just so delicious, so fresh and flavorful. I think Peruvian cuisine is my second favorite Latin American cuisine, only behind one other, which if you've seen my other episodes, you probably already know what that is. Mexico, duh. But Peruvian cuisine here is just so good. There's so many good restaurants at different price points. You can try some amazing local dishes, like, of course, ceviche. It's a classic. It's full of lime and salt and so much flavor. You can try taku taku, which is kind of like a patty created of rice and beans, and it's like mashed together, and you can top it with like plantains or lots of different like delicious like chimichurri sauce, for example, or whatever. It sounds really like it's basic and humble food, but you can make it really delicious as well. You also have stuff like lomo saltado, which is kind of like influenced a little bit by like Chinese cuisine, I think, because it's kind of like a stir fry with like French fries and rice, which is good, But even more than that, you have causa reina, which is like it's like potato sushi. That's the best way I can describe it, with lime. It's so fresh and delicious and tasty. You have ají de gallina, which is like a yellow pepper kind of like stew, which almost has like a curry kind of vibe without the curry spice, but really hearty and delicious and rich as well. So Peruvian food's incredible. I love it. And Lima, it's a great place for food. So you can have coastal walks, museums, beautiful neighborhoods, delicious food. It also has a really cool historic center, which juxtaposes against like the more beautiful, trendy, green neighborhoods on the coast. The historic center is more inland, and it has like the Latin American plazas, which have that kind of a colonial style architecture, which you see in a lot of Latin America, but it's beautiful, it's vibrant. This is the heart of the culture here in Lima, and it's a really cool area to combine as well. So Lima, again, like I wouldn't say it's worth spending a ton of time there, like weeks, but spend a good 4 days, 3-4 days there, and you'll be really surprised. It's really cool, and I think it deserves some more hype, honestly. And lastly, let's talk about Asia. Let's talk about Southeast Asia one more time, because I love it. Let's talk about Thailand, because Thailand, it's a very touristed place. You have places like the Phi Phi Islands, which get a lot of tourism. You have Phuket, which is becoming like overrun with tourism. Even my beloved Koh Samui is becoming a little crazy with tourism, and I believe they just made a really popular show there called White Lotus, or like some parts of it were filmed there. I haven't seen it, but this is what I read online. So I think this will be like over touristed very soon if it's not already. So those are beautiful tropical islands in Thailand. And there's so much more, so many more. Some that are true gems, which I have not visited. But one that's definitely not off the beaten path, but it's really beautiful. It's just to the north of Koh Samui, and that's Koh Phangan. Because Koh Phangan, it's famous for mostly backpackers as being the island with the full moon party. And that's going to be in this area called Harin, which is in the south side of the beach. Some tourists and backpackers even just like take a boat there, and then they leave the next morning. So don't even spend any time there. They just go there to party and leave. But if you go a little bit away from those areas, you go more to the north or to the west, near areas like Zen Beach or Chalaklum, it's island paradise and it's very chill. I think it's becoming more popular now. So maybe this is a place that you want to visit before it gets too late, to be honest. But it's just paradise. Chalaklum is a sleepy little beach town. There's a really nice night market there. There's great hikes around the island with amazing views. Chalaklum Beach, it's just gorgeous. It's one of those tropical slices of paradise where you have greenery all around you and you can have this beach, not to yourself, but people just hanging out there relaxing. No loud music. The water is so warm and beautiful. You have Hadkom Beach where there's a little island, or Madkom, I get it confused. Madkom, sorry. Which you can actually walk to at low tide because the sandbar is exposed because the water's so low. So you can walk from the mainland across the sand, across the ocean to this little island and watch sunset if you're lucky. It's so beautiful. And like I said, there's little hikes you can visit. There's beautiful Chinese Buddhist temple in the jungle, pretty much, where you can have like all to yourself. It's a good place to relax, to get some beautiful Thai island paradise. There's markets in other parts of the island too, as long as you stay away from the crazy, hectic Hadrin full moon beach party. So that's an underrated place, I think, or at least a place that it's not over touristed in the same way these other parts of Thailand are, or these other places in the world, because over tourism is becoming a problem, everybody. These are some places that you probably have heard of, but I can vouch for, and hopefully I give you a good idea of some things you can see and do there, or why I love them so much, because all these places I think are incredible, and I would love to visit them again sometime in the future. So let me know if you agree. Do you have some underrated places of your own? That's all for this one. Make sure to check out some of my other episodes going into maybe some places that are alternatives to less or to over touristed places in that way. So thanks for listening, everybody. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Wanderlust Woman Travel Podcast. Peace.